Good day, everyone. My name is Joshua Elecha, and I also have Shegun Onikosi, Adidapo Daramola, Esther Atabu, in which we will be discussing and analyzing the leadership approaches of Indra Nooyi, the former Chief Executive Officer of PepsiCo, and Sir Keir Starmer, the current Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. These two leaders operate in entirely different contexts, one in the other and one in the corporate world and the other in politics. Yet both demonstrate how effective leadership can transform institutions, inspire followers, and promote sustainable change. The purpose of this presentation is to critically analyze and evaluate the leadership styles of both figures using theories covered within the module. We will apply concepts such as trait theory, transformational leadership, situational leadership, leader-member exchange, and disruptive leadership. Assessing how these models explain their approaches and what lessons can be drawn from them. This discussion will also highlight how context, personal traits, and external pressures shape their leadership effectiveness. Indra Nooyi leadership at PepsiCo was marked by a focus on ethics, empathy, and long-term vision. She redefined the purpose of the company beyond profit through her initiative Performance with Purpose, aligning business growth with sustainability and social responsibility. Keir Starmer, on the other hand, exemplifies a pragmatic, reform-oriented style of leadership that prioritizes evidence-based decision-making and unity. By examining both leaders, we will demonstrate how leadership effectiveness is determined not only by personal characteristics, but also by situational adaptability and the ability to inspire trust and commitment within complex systems. Next slide. Now I'll be talking about the background, Indra Nooyi background. Indra Nooyi journey at PepsiCo began in 1994 when she joined the company as Senior Vice President for Corporate Strategy. She later became the Chief Financial Officer and eventually Chief Executive Officer in 2006, a role which she held until 2018. During her tenure, she steered PepsiCo through a significant transformation, expanding the product line into healthier alternatives and embedding sustainability at the heart of the company's operation. Our concept of performance with purpose demonstrated that profitability and social responsibility could coexist. Knowing leadership focused on three pillars: human sustainability, environmental sustainability, and talent development, reflecting our belief that business success should also contribute positively to the society. Her Indian heritage and multicultural perspective gave her a unique leadership lens grounded in inclusivity and respect and emotional intelligence. What stands out about Noyi's background is not just her rise to power, but the moral conviction behind her leadership philosophy. She showed that leadership at the global level requires a deep understanding of diversity, ethics, and collaboration. Our experience illustrates how a global mindset combined with humility can empower innovation and strategize resilience in a highly competitive environment. I'll be passing the next slide to Shegun Onikosi. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shegun Nikosi, and I'll be talking about the style and approach of Indra Nooyi's. So Indra Nooyi's leadership style can best be described as transformational, empathetic, and participative. She valued communication, inclusivity, and accountability at every organizational level by encouraging collaboration and giving employees a sense of purpose. She fostered loyalty and commitment across PepsiCo's workforce. Her empathetic style promoted transparency and trust, creating a culture where employees felt genuinely valued and heard. A key element of our approach was our focus on purpose-driven leadership. NUI's integrated ethical decision-making into the company's long-term strategy. Our goal was to ensure that growth was sustainable, socially, environmentally, and economically. This long-term orientation distinguished us from leaders focused solely on financial gain. However, this style was not without its challenges. Critics argued that the pace of change under our leadership was gradual, as cultural transformation within a large corporation required time and persistent reinforcement. Balancing ethical goals with shareholder expectation was another difficulty, as some investors prioritize immediate profit over social outcomes. Despite these tensions, Nui remained firm in her convictions that ethical leadership drives long-term success. Our approach exemplifies the importance of aligning vision with stakeholder value, reinforcing the argument that empathy and responsibility are not weakness in leadership but strengths that sustain organizational success. Next slide. We're talking about theoretical application of Indra's Nui. Indra Nuyi's leadership can be understood through the application of trait theory and transformational leadership theory, two frameworks covered in this module that complement each other. Trait theory suggests that certain inherent personal characteristics make individuals more predisposed to effective leadership. Nuyi's resilience, confidence, integrity, and empathy are all traits that define our leadership identity. Our ability to remain calm under pressure and make ethically sound decisions reflects the stability and emotional intelligence associated with great leaders. This theory helps explain the consistency in our moral compass and decision-making across challenging circumstances. Moving on to transformational leadership. As described by Bayes and Riggio, emphasize the leader's capacity to inspire and motivate followers beyond self-interest. Nui exemplified this by articulating a compelling vision that connected personal motivation to organizational mission. Our communication style, which balanced inspiration with authenticity, encouraged employees to engage emotionally with PepsiCo goals. The connectivity between these theories is clear. Our inherent traits such as empathy and moral integrity enable a transformational impact. Our transformation of PepsiCo was not merely about business growth, but about shaping a corporate culture grounded in ethics and purpose. Together, these theories provide a complete picture of how Nui's personality and vision intertwine into produce meaningful and lasting change. Moving on, I'll be talking about the critical discussion of theories and approaches. While both trait theory and transformational leadership provide useful frameworks to understand Nui's leadership, each has limitation. Trait theory is often criticized for being too simplistic, as it's assumed that leadership effectiveness is determined by fixed personal attributes rather than situational factors. Nui's leadership success depends not only on her traits, but also on her ability to adapt and manage complex global challenges, from changing consumer demands to shifting economic conditions. Our leadership demonstrates that while traits provide the foundation, adaptability and context awareness sustain long-term impact. Transformational leadership, although relevant, can sometimes overemphasize charisma and understate structure and systemic barriers. For Nui, implementing a global cultural shift requires strategic patience, operational reforms, and communicational consistency. Not just inspiration, the model does not fully capture the bureaucratic constraints she had to navigate with a large multinational corporation. Despite these theoretical shortcomings, both approaches provide valuable insights. Trait theory helps explain Nui's authenticity and strength of character, while transformational leadership clarifies our ability to motivate others through vision and shared purpose. So my colleague Adedapo will be talking about the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Adedakura Ramala, and I'll be talking about Sir Keir Starmer's background. So, Sir Keir Starmer became leader of the UK Labour Party in 2020 and was elected Prime Minister in 2024. His leadership journey began in law, where he served as Director of Republic Prosecutors. His background as human rights lawyer shaped a sense of justice, structure, and ethical reasoning traits that would later define his political leadership style. When he inherited the Labour Party, it was divided and suffering from a credibility crisis after years of internal conflict. Starmer's goal was to restore unity and public trust through evidence-based reform and disciplined leadership. This legal and institutional grounding has shaped his methodical and rational style, one that values rules, accountability, and incremental reform. And now moving to his style and approach. Starmer's leadership style can be described as pragmatic, structured, and evidence-based, unlike many populist leaders who rely on charisma. Starmer's influence stems from consistency, professionalism, and commitment to reform. He focuses on practical outcome rather than rhetoric, demonstrating his preference for order, discipline, and institutional reform. His key strengths lie in rebuilding trust and unity within Labour Party through inclusive communication and strategic repositioning. Under his leadership, the party regained its credibility and electoral competitiveness by building consensus around long-term, such as his plan for change, which was achieved through strong policy coherence and a clear message of change rooted in realism rather than ideology. However, Starmer's leadership also faced limitations. Critics argue that his restrained and procedural style makes him appear detached or uninspiring to the public. His cautious approach sometimes limits emotional connection, which is vital in political communication. Nonetheless, his calm, evidence-driven style has created stability in a previous divided organization, providing that effective effective leadership can that effective leadership can exist without flamboyance. So talking about theoretical application, Starmer's leadership approach aligned with situational leader member exchange, that's LMX, and disruptive leadership theories. Each theory highlights a dimension of his reform-driven style. Under situational leadership, Starmer demonstrates adaptability by modifying his leadership behavior based on the need of his team context. By repositioning Labour towards the political center, he addressed the readiness and expectations of diverse followers. His ability to assess to be directive when the delegate reflects flexibility and situational awareness. For leader-member exchange LMX theory, this provides insight into how he strengthened relationship with his party. By fostering trust and fairness, he built an inner circle and reduced internal conflict. This relational leadership approach improves communication, cohesion, and accountability within the party. Finally, disruptive leadership captures his reformist tendencies. Starmer's disrupted traditional political norms through his mission-led governance framework, which prioritized evidence-based policymaking and departmental collaboration. Together, these theories demonstrate how Starmer integrates adaptability, trust, and innovation to achieve reform and stability. The critical So moving to the critical discussion of theories and approaches. Each of the three theories shed light on Starmer's leadership strengths, but also exposes certain limitations. Situational leadership effectively explains its adaptability, but underestimates the complexity of political leadership, where followers are not uniform employee, but a mix of voters, media, and political stakeholders. This makes the situational adjustment process far more challenging. LMX theory successfully explains how Starmer strengthens party loyalty and cohesion, but does not account for its external relationships with the voters and public perception of leader. While it clarifies its internal management success, it fails to explain how leaders sustain credibility with multiple stakeholders groups simultaneously. Disruptive leader, on the other hand, captures on the other hand, this captures his reform mindset, but carries potential risk disruption, can trigger instability, resistance, and misinterpretation, particularly within traditional policy systems that value continuity. For Starmer, the challenge remains how to sustain reform without alienating existing supporters. Moreover, researchers also highlight conceptual ambiguity and limited empirical clarity within this model. Ultimately, these theories collectively enhance understanding of Starmer leadership. They review how political leadership involves balancing adaptability, institutional reform, and polity empathy. Starmer's success demonstrates that the stability are not mutual. So I'll be passing the next slide to my colleague Esther. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am here to talk about the conclusion and recommendation. In conclusion, both leaders transcend traditional managerial approaches by focusing on transformation, stakeholder engagement, and purpose-driven leadership. Indra Nooyi represents ethical corporate transformation that integrates social and financial goals, while Keir Starmer exemplifies structured political reform built on trust and evidence. However, both have areas for improvement. Nooyi's main challenge was the slow cultural adoption of her vision across a vast organization, while Starmer's limitation lies in his lack of emotional resonance with the public. For Indra Nooyi, her leadership remains a model of corporate ethics and transformational influence. Her ability to embed sustainability and social accountability into PepsiCo's business model demonstrates how value-based leadership can drive both social and economic progress. To enhance her effectiveness, Nooyi could have accelerated implementation processes by integrating measurable accountability systems to ensure that performance with purpose achieve faster organizational buy-in, deepen stakeholder engagement, and sustain an inclusive culture. For Keir Starmer, his reformist leadership has restored stability and credibility to British politics. Yet, to deepen his impact, he should cultivate greater emotional connections with the public by combining his analytical leadership with storytelling that inspires trust and empathy. He can also try and instill a culture of delivering quick wins as well as broaden stakeholder alliances. Ultimately, both leaders prove that effective leadership in the modern era depends on the integration of vision, empathy, adaptability, and accountability. These examples remind us that leadership is not about authority or charisma alone, but about purpose-driven transformation capable of uniting people towards a shared progress. Thank you so much, and we've come to the end of our presentation.